My first guest, Representative Ben Cline, Virginia's 6th Congressional District. Sir, what body of government or venue would decide that what took place was, let's say, an insurrection versus a riot or what have you, just because Jamie Raskin or Adam Schiff or anyone points their finger and says insurrection, that doesn't make it so.
It is going to depend on the state in which the challenge is brought. If a Secretary of State decides to keep him off the ballot in any state, that will go up on appeal up to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court's going to have to hear arguments as to what that definition is, whether it applies, and issue a ruling as to whether he can be on the ballot in certain states or not. I think that this is a case where, once again, people are so occupied with Donald Trump. People like Adam Schiff have TDS, Trump derangement syndrome. They can't stop thinking about him, and they want to find new ways to stop him. The voters will ultimately decide this question, not secretaries of state in blue states that want to keep him off the ballot.
But Section 5, Section 3 can't be divorced from Section 5, which says Congress has the authority to enforce the article by appropriate legislation. That's the whole article. That's the whole amendment. It's not a 10th Amendment question. It doesn't put it in the hands of the state. It's not a shared power. And Congress did pass 18 U.S.C. 2383, the Insurrection and Rebellion Statute. So when they say, well, he doesn't have to be convicted, well, if there's a criminal penalty, if he's an insurrectionist, you should be able to convict him or any of the people that were there on January 6th of that crime if there is a criminal statute related to it.
Well, you have the question of whether Congress is going to act or has acted to pass legislation that would, in effect, enforce those provisions of the 14th Amendment. And Congress being divided right now isn't passing much of anything. So as to the potential for new enforcement, additional enforcement legislation, there's not much room for that. There's little chance of that happening. And for existing laws that are on the books, there is potential for a suit to be brought, any kind of case to be brought. But again, the Supreme Court's going to be the ultimate arbiter of this decision, and I doubt they're going to want to have to wade into this question at all.
Well, I mean, either way, it's a win-win for the Democrats, right? They muck up the system by going through these motions. If the Supreme Court gives them a victory, it's a victory. If the Supreme Court doesn't give them a victory, it's a victory because it lets them say, well, the Supreme Court, we need to add Supreme Court justices. This is an out of control, MAGA right-wing court or whatever they're going to say. It just doesn't seem like there's any downside for the Democrats here.
The Democrats have no question been trying to tear down the institutions of government, whether it's the executive branch, the legislative branch, or now their latest target, the judicial branch. And they'll continue to take every opportunity to target what is finally, a conservative Supreme Court.
So, okay, let's talk this impeachment inquiry. Donald Trump was impeached for a call with Volodymyr Zelensky. And as James Comer's investigation goes on, it turns out that Trump was not only correct, but that this is something that any leader, if a foreign leader had this kind of information, are we supposed to believe that our government wouldn't seek that information? As we see now, the New York Times has a piece, and finally they got around to it, because a year ago they'd say you were pro-Putin, that billions of dollars have gone missing in Ukraine. So Ukraine has long been a place where people go to wash their money, like putting the son of the vice president on a board of directors, paying him millions of dollars when he has no experience related to the business at all.
You have Ukraine historically corrupt in its business dealings. You have a Biden family, because I don't just talk about one member of the Biden family. It's a family enterprise. And multiple members of the Biden family have been engaged in essentially a pay-to-play access scheme. And the evidence is coming to light. We're finding out more and more about the pseudonyms, about the multiple emails, 5,000 emails reported by the archives between Joe Biden's pseudonyms and Hunter Biden. So the Biden family is engaged in this operation. The House has a responsibility, because Joe Biden was the sitting vice president, is now the sitting president, to investigate it and to determine whether high crimes and misdemeanors were committed. The administration is being very, very reluctant to turn over records. I'm the chairman of the subcommittee on the Judiciary Committee to enforce compliance with oversight, the subpoena process that Jim Jordan's trying to engage in, and they're not complying. So we have very limited tools at our disposal. We have the power of the purse, we have the power of oversight, but we do have impeachment power, and if an inquiry is warranted, we're going to have to go where the facts take us.
Well, I mean, between the Hunter Biden laptop, the interview with Victor Shokin, Joe Biden's bragging that he had him removed if he didn't back off the investigation into Burisma, to the potential existence of these recorded telephone calls, the pictures with Joe Biden and Hunter Biden's business partners, and the two IRS whistleblowers. I mean, it seems like there's enough there to go there. I got to leave it there. Speaking of which, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.